Hey guys, Omega Dark Mage here, and today I'm bringing you guys my Majespecter deck profile for September 2015. I've been using this deck and it's won me a lot of games. I could see these guys being tier 1 once they reach TCG. And they're going to be very expensive and rare cards, I can imagine. So let's get into the deck profile. I'm running a Magician build, by the way, as you may have noticed. I'm starting off with the 2 Dragon Pit Magician. I could run this guy at 3, but 3 gets cloggy if you're trying to be consistent opening up, so I only run 2. Same can be said about the Peasant Dragon Magician that I run. I run that at 2 as well. 2 Majespecter Unicorn. I really don't want to run my high level stuff past 2. So these guys, all of these have to be at 2. And I think 2 Unicorn is enough. Yeah, it really is. It's a good card. He can't be like destroyed and stuff by card effects, can't be targeted by card effects, just like all the other Majespecter monsters in this deck. So just keep that in mind, these guys are really tough to destroy. I'm running 2 Dragodios, the Empowered Warrior. I mostly put this guy in the Pendulum Scale because I don't want to put a Majespecter monster in my Pendulum Scale. But he can be good if you play him on the field as a monster, because he helps you get a search, and sometimes you get off to a slow start, so if your opponent runs this over, you'll get your search and then you could start making your plays next turn. So I think he's a good card. 2 Insight Magician, or 3 rather. I'm running 3 of this. It's pretty good. It helps you to get into your other magicians. Yeah. It helps you put them in the scales faster. I mean, that's pretty good. If you open up with 2 of these, you already have the 2 monsters, the Dragon Pit and Peasant Dragon Magician. So you'll have both. And you can just start pendulum summoning right off the bat. 3 Majespecter Fox. This lets you search out any Majespecter trap card, which is pretty nice. The traps in the Majespecter arsenal are pretty good. 3 Majespecter Crow. I'm not too big on Crow, but I want to run this with as many Majespecter monsters as possible, so I'm running him at 3. Most of the time, I'll probably put this guy in the Pendulum Scale if there's a scale open for him to be in a scale zone. If a scale zone is open, I will place him in there. The next monster is probably the most useful, Majespecter Raccoon. He can allow you to search out any Majespecter monster. And I think that's really good, because if you open up with him, you can already get the other monsters you need. And so I think he's the best Majespecter monster. He also has a scale of 5. Most of the time I'd rather put Crow in my pendulum scale zones rather than Raccoon. The next one, Majespecter Cat, I think he's the weakest, but he still finds use in this deck since he's a searcher. And yeah, you can always put him in one of the pendulum scales if you have to. I just really wanted to keep the monster count high so I could be consistent. 1 Galaxy Cyclone, just pop back row. If you need to pop back row, you can also use Dragon Pit Magician. Just make sure you have your Peasant Dragon Magician in the other zone, obviously, since you need 2 magicians in the zones. Next we got Raigeki. Raigeki is a staple, and it's pretty good in this deck. 3 Pendulum Call. If you open up with this, ooh, you're gonna have a good game most likely. Yeah, I run it at 3. You can run it at 2. I run it at 3 just so I can open with it, and it's a good card. Majespecter Cyclone, I run that at 2. I feel like it's not really amazing, and I really don't want to spam Majespecter spells and traps in my deck, to be honest. I feel like the deck can be so much faster if I keep the spells and traps to a minimum. The next card, Majestic Pegasus, the field spell of the deck. Pretty good card. You tribute one Majespecter monster. Actually, it doesn't even have to be a Majespecter monster. It just has to be a wind spellcaster type monster, such as Peasant Dragon Magician. And then you can special summon a level 4 or lower Majespecter. And with that, you can get a search with one of these, which is really good. Helps to speed up the deck really nicely. Trap cards, 2 Majespecter Tornado, 3 is too cloggy, honestly. Way too cloggy. Next trap card, Mirror Force, protect your monsters pretty much. It's good to have a card that can destroy stuff, lots of things, without having to tribute anything. The same could be said about Raigeki. It's a good spell card and you don't have to tribute a thing. The only advantage you have running these Majespecter cards is that you can search them out with your monster effects. Other than that, they're not really like amazing. Like, you could argue that a trap card like Bottomless is better than Majespecter Tornado since it banishes and you don't have to tribute anything. But you can search this card out. And tributing actually helps you, because when you tribute monsters, you can pendulum summon them next turn and then get more searches out. So you'll be getting more pluses. So tributing your monsters for your card effects isn't bad at all, actually. But you could leave yourself wide open to direct attacks if your opponent outnumbers you with their field. And I think Mirror Force is good for getting rid of those monster swarms. Yeah, if you're outnumbered, this is a good card. And lastly, for the traps, Majespecter Tempest. It's kind of like Black Horn of Heaven, but better to an extent. And of course, you have to tribute a wind spellcaster type monster. This is really good in the mirror matchup because you negate like all the monsters that are pendulum summoned, and they don't go to the extra deck if they're negated. They would go to the graveyard. So that's really good. Really, really good. It's great that you can search this card out. I had it at 2, but I realized it's better at 3. Alright, so now onto the extra deck. I hardly go into some of these monsters, but it's good to have them. My rank 6 monster of choice, Utopia Beyond. This actually won me a game the other day. It reduces the attack of all of your opponent's monsters to 0. That's ridiculously good. Ridiculously good. Next up, we got the 3 Utopias. Basically, you'll stack these guys. You'll first make Utopia, then Utopia Ray, and then Utopia the Lightning. And basically, you attack with him, and his attack becomes 5,000 pretty much. Yeah. And your opponent can't activate spells and traps, or any card effect for that matter, when he launches his attack. That's really good. Black Ship of Corn, just get rid of certain things without destroying them, because destroying certain cards is bad. 101, steal something. It's a good card if you're desperate. Heartland Draco, he works pretty well with the field spell in our deck, since then, yeah, he won't be able to be attacked. And he can also attack directly just by detaching. Let's see, Castell, staple card pretty much. Get rid of something. Lightning Chidori, pretty good card. Exciton, when things get rough, go into Exciton. Things hardly ever get rough though. Daigusto, you know, get back some things possibly. I haven't made this card that much, but he can come in handy. Cowboy, pretty much go for game. Giga Brilliant, here's some rank 3s. Yeah, all your monsters get 300 attack. Yeah, it could be kind of useful in a mirror match. Yeah, your monsters could actually end up being stronger than your opponents if you can get this guy's effect off. If your opponent has a lot of back row though, don't bother trying to make this since he'll die before he can even use his effect. Levier, could be useful. Could take one of your opponent's banished monsters or possibly one of your own, bring it back. Not a bad card. Kind of situational though. And wind up Zen Mains. Could have gone with Fortune Tune, but I decided Zen Mains might be a little better. Now for the sideboard. 3 Wavering Eyes. Pretty good in the mirror match, and it's pretty good against any pendulum deck for that matter. And it's a nice card. Moon Mirror Shield at 2. This is a good answer to Cleaforts and their towers pretty much. Their boss monster. You'll be able to run it over. Pretty useful card. 2 Storming Mirror Force. You could actually replace these with these for the mirror match, or any matchup for that matter that would actually, I don't know, you could replace them for any match in my opinion, as long as your opponent's running monsters that shouldn't be destroyed. If you're trying to avoid destroying your opponent's monsters, this card is actually better. Yeah. 1 Gozen match. All our monsters are pretty much wind attribute, most of them. Light Imprisoning Mirror. This is good against light attribute decks like Satellars and Light Sworns. Stygian Dirge. I like this card. It's a personal favorite. Works pretty good against all those rank 4 spams that I've been seeing with the clowns, the Enter Mage Trick Clown, and the 1,000 Blades, I think. Yeah, heroic Challenger 1,000 Blades, all that crazy spam. Rivalry of Warlords. Why not? All our monsters are spellcasters. All the monsters in our main deck for the most part. And 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Pretty good against certain matchups. And dark attribute decks mostly. Like Burning Abyss, I guess. Although I just don't see Burning Abyss being a major threat, but with this you pretty much shut them down. So yeah, guys, that's my Majespecter, deck. It's been doing pretty good for me on my Twitch streams. It's not a bad deck by any means. Yeah, it's not bad at all. Not bad. I like it for the most part. It's consistent when you open up with your monster cards. Your key cards like Raccoon. And if you can't open up with Raccoon, at least open up with some other Majespecter monster and your field spell card. You see, this is why I don't run a lot of back row in this deck, because if our monster count was any lower, we'd be getting hands like this more often. And these cards right here, all these Majespecter cards, they're absolutely worthless without a monster to tribute for them. they're absolutely worthless. And I hate opening up with all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. It really is. Imagine if I was running 3 Tornado and 3 Cyclone. Oh my gosh. That would be ridiculous. And some people do that, and I don't recommend it. I really don't. I don't think they should do that. The deck's really strong when it gets going, though. Once it starts going, forget it. Unless you have Solemn Warning, these guys are gonna destroy you. And in match duels, it's pretty tough for them, though, because your opponent can run cards like Skill Drain, DNA Transplant, DNA Surgery. They seem kind of random, but I think they're gonna be staples for side decks pretty soon. Yeah, they can run all sorts of things. Massive Restrict. If your opponent runs Massive Restrict, which is a good card against Monarchs, but it's also good against them because you won't be able to tribute them for their spell and trap card effects. Yeah, so Massive Restrict's another good option. Zombie World. Zombie World. Since they won't be spellcasters anymore. It's ridiculous. Like, game 1, these guys are so strong, but game 2, they have such a hard time. They really do. Anyways, guys, I hope you like this deck. And if you have suggestions, let me know in the comments section. I'm not the best public speaker, but I still make these videos just for the sake of making them because I like this game, honestly, and I like to share my ideas. I like to hear your ideas. And if you have time to check out my stream one of these days, feel free to. I'll leave a link to my Twitch channel in the description below. So, yeah, guys. Omega Dark Mage signing out, guys.